Hello and welcome to Castle of Horror, the show dedicated to horror movies and awesomeness. This week, we continue our Halloween retrospective with Halloween, The Curse of Michael Myers, aka Halloween 666, or Halloween 6, The Curse of Michael Myers, or The Curse of Michael Myers. We are barreling towards this month's release of the 2018 reboot, mercifully named Halloween. Bear in mind, if you haven't seen today's movie, we're going to be talking about it from the perspective of horror fans who have. So warning, spoilers ahead. From Denver, Colorado, I'm your host, Jason Henderson, co-author of California Tiki, out now from the History Press. With me from Austin is Tony Salvaggio, tech director at Rooster Teeth, lead singer and bassist of the band Deserts of Mars, and lead guitarist of the band Rise from Fire. Say hello, Tony.
Howdy.
Howdy. Also in Austin is, welcome back for easily one of the most interesting parts of the Halloween series, Mr. Drew Edwards, creator of the long-running indie comic Halloween Man, and out from Comixology and Sugar Skull Media very recently, the new Lucy Chaplin Science Starlet special. Say hello, Drew.
I don't even have the comeback for. I had to watch all three of these just to talk about this one movie. Oh boy,
man, that's quite the. You took one for the team.
Oh yeah. Man.
That's some dedication, and I really appreciate it. I appreciate. I'm beginning to understand more and more your love for other franchises than this one.
Plus, coming back from vacation, you're like, "Yeah, I'm back from vacation. Let's get."
What am I? 4, 5, and 6. Damn. All right.
Yeah.
Homework.
Vacation's over.
Yeah.
So welcome. And from the Rio Grande Valley, Professor David Bowles has received awards from the American Library Association, the Texas Institute of Letters, the Texas Associated Press, to the dozen books he's written. He's recently added Feathered Serpent, Dark Heart of Sky, Myths of Mexico, and soon the YA steampunk graphic novel Clockwork Curandera. Say hello, David.
Hey there.
Hello. Actually, you have a brand new book. Don't
you? Coming out the 22nd. Yeah. They call me Güero.
They call me Güero. Yeah.
I want to get that for my girls.
Yeah, I think they would really like it. I'll make sure you guys get a copy.
Fantastic. Well, congratulations. And finally, also in Denver, as always, color commentary from just got named actually the rising star in immigration law by the American Immigration Lawyers Association of Colorado.
Ms. like that.
Ms. Is that what we call people now? Ms. Julia Guzman of Guzman Immigration of Denver. Say hello, Julia.
Hello, Julia.
I love how she's Julia Guzman of Guzman. I mean, that's great. It's beautiful. That's beautiful.
The funny thing
is, too much, David. It's too much. Too much Latinx if you say it Guzman twice in a row.
for me to say it right twice in 5 seconds.
And after having said curandera too, I mean that would be 3 Spanish words in a row.
Okay, Halloween 6, and I'm just going to call it that from here on out because, for heaven's sake, it is a 1995 American slasher film directed by Joe Chappelle, written by Daniel Ferrens. The film stars Donald Pleasence in his final film appearance. The film also features the very first starring role of Paul Rudd, and it stars Marianne Hagan, and Kim Darby, who was so great in Teen Wolf and True Grit. Anyway, the 6th installment in the Halloween film series follows a young woman living with her family in Michael Myers' childhood home who finds herself stalked by Myers on Halloween. That's a very simple sounding plot, and it does not describe this movie in the slightest. But she is helped out by Tommy Doyle, who was the original boy stalked because Michael Myers went after Laurie Strode, who was babysitting him when he was a little boy. The plot of the film formally introduced the Curse of Thorn, a mystical symbol that has sort of been hinted at in the last movie before this, which makes 4, 5, and 6 into a semi-coherent trilogy in the middle of the entire Halloween.
Coherent.
Yeah. Insert quotes.
Really?
Semi-coherent is what I said.
Yeah.
And
that's a description.
The Curse of Thorn is revealed to be the source of Michael Myers' apparent immortality, that he has powers that are tied to a hitherto unknown Thorn Rune constellation in space. And it took 6 years.
He kills when it aligns, yeah.
Right. Which All right, and it was shot in Salt Lake City in a film in a place that actually filmed very well. It looks like fall, so that's beautiful. All right, so there are several versions of this movie. We're going to try our hardest to discuss this film. I want to get first opening thoughts, and then after that, the first thing I want to discuss is which version should our listeners watch if they are going to dive into this movie. But Drew, you are back, so let's do it this way. Let's go Drew, Tony, Joya, David, and I'll just bring us into the first topic. So opening thoughts. Try to keep it like under 2 minutes so we can get everybody. Drew, opening thoughts. Halloween 6.
So, I can't talk about this movie without actually having to state again, I had to watch 3 movies just to discuss this one. And, starting off with Halloween 4, which is more or less a straightforward sequel. It's not great, but, it's tolerable. Then you get into Halloween 5, the less said, probably the better. And then there's this movie, and I'm going to try and say this delicately opening up because I have friends who love this movie. This is their favorite Halloween movie.
Ooh.
And I get why this is a fascinating film to a lot of people, because there are 3 different versions of it floating around, because it's so weird and unhinged, and of course because it is the last film appearance of Donald Pleasence. I get all those things, but good God, this movie is a train wreck, and I just hate it. Like, I really do not like this movie. I hate the idea of the Thorn cult. Like, I hate it. It does. One of my pet peeves is, of course, about anybody who listens to this podcast knows one of my pet peeves about horror films is when they feel the need to just explain everything that is supposed to be mysterious. And no matter what version of this movie you watch, this movie has gobs of that. So I just hate this movie, and by proxy I kind of hate the whole trilogy, even though 4, I will admit, 4 was a lot better than I remembered. I credit where credit's due, but thinking about this movie makes my teeth grind.
All right. So we are off to a start, I have to say, and I think that's fair. And I don't even know how far afield the other people are going to go. Tony, do you have anything better to say about Halloween 6?
Not really. I kind of think if you're gonna try to do something different, not as radically different as part 3, of course, maybe the cult thing could have worked. It's an interesting idea, but man, oh man, does it not work at all in this. And Paul Rudd's character, so many choices and so many weird choices.
Yeah.
Like, he's
truly
creepy. Why the girl would even think about leaving, don't leave your kid with this guy ever. Please, oh please. It just, all of it, the kind of weird 90s computer stuff, all of it is so, like, I still hold that my idea of the Scooby-Doo ending where they take off Michael Myers' mask and it relates to the Oscar Meyers Haddonfield Bologna factory and he's trying to scare everyone away from it would have been a better ending than what we got here. Poor Donald Pleasence. This is the last thing he did. Orson Welles can feel fine that Transformers the movie was his last thing if you're gonna compare it to this. I actually like.
I actually did like this better than Transformers the movie. Just
oh,
so
no.
Why?
No. That's, you're entirely.
That's questionable at best.
I think this is an absurd
anyway,
debate
but
as
as far as final, actors with that bear weight and have gravity to their acting. this being your swan song, let's all pour one out for Donald Pleasence, who they decided they didn't want to, he either decided he didn't want to wear prosthetics or they decided they didn't have the money.
Yeah.
And they just give him like, man, plastic surgery guys.
That plastic surgery line is not in the theatrical cut, remarkably.
I only saw the
unexplained. It's like he doesn't have the scars anymore.
I love
somebody decided one way or another that's how it's gonna be. But it's just such a mess of a movie. I don't know.
All right. Julia, What about you? I mean, what are your thoughts? You watched this movie twice in the last like 3 days.
Oh my God.
Two different versions. So last time
You were
I
still
said,
married after that?
I nearly got to watch it again today.
that if you guys, set the bar, low enough that I actually was, pleasantly surprised by the film being better than I expected it to be because the expectations were so low. That is not the case this time. This time, the expectations were not set low enough, I'm afraid. It's like, this movie, both versions were just atrocious, and I have decided, for the purposes of this podcast, that Paul Stephen Rudd is not the same person as the Paul Rudd that we've all come to know and love, because if he were, I could not have enjoyed any of the films of his as much as I've enjoyed them.
Well, I don't know, because clearly
this person is not a good actor at all.
Yeah,
very,
clearly
very,
he got
very,
the
very
mark
bad.
of thorn because he has not aged. So
That's
there's
true.
some
He has
satanic
not
stuff
aged
going
at all. That's a good
Yeah.
point.
Oh man!
All right.
I think they should have Michael Myers in the next Ant-Man movie. I think
Nice.
that's
Or if he just, went trick or treating with his kid and wore them,
and he's wearing a Michael Myers mask, that would be awesome.
that'd be
That
pretty
is a
good.
wonderful idea. Yes. Okay, David. I can you shed any light here in your opening thoughts? I mean,
Yeah.
how could we all be this disappointed in this film? Why did this happen?
Well, a lot of it has to do, obviously, with the script and some harebrained ideas, but I think a lot of it just is very, very bad acting. No one in this film behaves or talks like human beings. I have heard better line deliveries in dubbed Giallo films. This is like
Exactly.
bull.
This whole business,
God,
the whole
it's-
business of everybody delivering lines like this. For some reason, it's a horror movie, so we must talk like this. I'm just like, oh my God, you have got to
it's so
stop right
strange.
now.
And then just like the actual people, and obviously this is the writing, but the reactions of people and the things that they do. A perfect example is the mother. Michael Myers is in the house. She runs outside. She pulls aside like some like laundry and sees the fence, and she seems confused about geography of her own yard.
Yes.
And for no particular reason, she falls down, and her glasses fall onto the dirt and are broken. Like there's just insane, stupid thing after insane, stupid thing that strains credulity and makes you not root for the people who are being killed and not feel for them at all. And then there are just other things like key to this, and we're all kind of like pussyfooting around this, but key to the plot of this film is the notion that this cult somehow got Michael Myers, who had never had sex with anyone, to have sex with his niece, like a killer who clearly does not have any kind of sexual impulse at all, who is just a mindless shape who goes around slaughtering people. They got him to have sexual intercourse with a 16-year-old girl to bear a child so that he could sacrifice it as the last sacrifice.
But that would have been true. The funny thing is, it would have been the last of his bloodline either way. Like in other words,
just killed her, and that would have been the end of the.
Or he could have just killed the baby. I mean, let's assume that Michael wants to slaughter his whole bloodline. If his niece has a baby, he needs to kill that. Let's assume for a moment that's the plot. The baby would be his bloodline whether he had sired it or not, and that siring is only in
I see
one
what
version.
you're saying. Yeah.
That is totally weird. It's a
The siring is
strange.
Also poor, like, to see the Jamie character go through all of these movies and to be so unceremoniously written out.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Like, even though I'm not the biggest fan of the two preceding movies, fuck you.
Yeah.
Screenwriters.
Yeah, I know, and it was really horrible. And we'll get into it, but the fact that the actress who played Jamie in 4 and 5 emancipated herself legally from her parents to be able to be in this film, and then they were like, "Oh yeah, we're just going to pay you like $1,000 for like a couple of days' work," and she's like, "Wait, what?" And so they went with a different actress. I'm sure she breathed a sigh of relief afterwards, like, "I saved myself from a big stinker." That's a horrible thing. And there's
I think that's true.
In the producer's cut, as she's laying there getting ready to be raped by her uncle, she's all, "Oh, Michael, don't hurt me. And like, what the fuck? Oh my God, it's just such that
Yeah.
like only a bunch of like idiot guys in a room can be like, wow, what can we do? Let's have, Michael Myers, be, ritually rape his niece so they can have a child. And it's just a really disgusting film on so many different levels. And
The funny thing is that plot point slips out of this film so neatly that it's almost as if the film itself thinks that's too gross to actually be part of the film. That's because
they don't like.
What does that say about Mustafa Akkad? Because it's not in the director's cut. Apparently, you can't see the director's cut. It's unless you buy a bootleg. But it's not in the theatrical, and apparently, it's not in the director's cut. It's only in the producer's cut. So
I think titillation is something that he probably thinks is money. I don't get the impression about Mustafa Akkad that he has any and I mean no disrespect to him at all, but I don't get the impression that he gives a rat's ass about the meaning of anything.
Guys, I think that in the theatrical cut it's pretty clear. I mean, that no one says it, but it's pretty clear in the theatrical cut that we're supposed to believe that it's Michael's kid. I mean,
I'm not disagreeing with you.
It makes sense because you have Loomis say, don't you wonder why he's so obsessed with you and your kid or whatever? But it didn't occur to me that it was because it was his kid. That honestly did not occur to me because we watched that version first. And then the other movie, I was like, wait, what? So yeah. I think they do a poor job if that's what they're trying to convey. But it does make sense when you consider that comment.
But you're exactly right
that
it's a big betrayal of the character of Michael Myers as we've come to understand that character. So the second top is going to be who is Michael Myers in this. But the first question I have, and that'll lead into that, is which version of this movie should somebody watch if they're going to watch Halloween 6? And let me preface by saying we had a really wonderful
Friday the 13th Part 3.
Right.
Yes.
Hellraiser 1 and 2, or any of the Nightmare on Elm Street movies 1, 2, or 3.
You can always do
what you should watch.
You can always do what I do.
Or Trick or Treat 86. Every time I'm gonna talk about that.
I skip over these movies and go right back to Jamie Lee Curtis and pretend the franchise ended. That's what I always do.
Or pretend it continues now that we're gonna see the new one.
Well, luckily with the new movie, you can just watch the new one and everything it goes away.
This is the continuity of the Halloween movies is fascinating. That could almost be an entire.
It is fascinating. I don't find it particularly difficult, but it is fascinating. Yeah,
it is fascinating.
How would this film have been different if Peter Jackson had directed it? He was asked to direct it.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Would it have been any better? Because really the script is the problem.
No, it would have been goofier. No, I mean Peter Jackson's style at this time was extremely broad and slapsticky and gory. So it would have been. I'm just assuming that he would have done pretty much what he was already doing, and that it would be a kind of.
But he was just a couple of years away from Heavenly Creatures, and the idea of Heavenly Creatures era Peter Jackson doing a Halloween movie is intriguing to me.
I would be down with that.
Well, Scott Spiegel was originally approached to do a rewrite for a script that they had laying around that had Michael Myers as like a homeless man, and I think that would have been kind of interesting instead of all this.
Well, that's basically the Rob Zombie.
Yeah. I'm sure that he completely stole that idea.
Zombie's sort of mountain, bearded mountain cracker with his, who could,
Which I really dug. To be honest with you, I really dug that.
Which version of this to watch? I guess the producer's cut, because it makes a little bit more linear sense.
And does it have all that weird flash editing going on? That's all
less likely to give you a seizure.
Yeah.
But I'm with Julia, kind of like I hate that. Like, just don't. And
also, the producer's cut doesn't have the narration at the beginning by Paul Rudd, which is just painful to listen to. Painful. The voiceover is by Donald Pleasence instead, which is so much nicer.
Why would you ever have 21-year-old Paul Rudd as your narrator when you could have Donald Pleasence,
Yeah,
who has one of the
gravitas and
all-time
gravel.
great speak. Yeah, seriously.
I get the impression that they just thought
Cocaine.
that Donald
That's why.
Pleasence, that Paul Rudd was just a riot. That they told, like, there's some lines of dialogue. Just imagine, if you will, some lines of dialogue in here where they say, "Boy, on a scale of 1 to 10, he's strange to a 13," and they go, "Hey, Paul, show us some of that," and he goes, "Well, maybe I'll talk with kind of a Southern accent," and then and he sort of stares all the time, and he's just really method. And they're like, "Oh, you're killing us, Paul. You're killing us.
Why
Do some
does
of the
he
narration,
have that
Paul."
accent though? He's from Illinois.
No, I don't know. I couldn't tell you. Yeah, no, he comes on like a sort of sedated Colonel Sanders in this. It's really strange, this accent.
And the whole thing is it's like they don't know what they wanted to do with this character. So he starts off being kind of like this creepy guy who is clearly like been traumatized and is obsessing over Michael Myers. And so if they had done something with that, and like maybe in the end, the twist was that he wants to take the Mark of Thorn, that he but be this weird, creepy kind of guy, and then for them to want to like turn him into the hero of the piece, it doesn't work.
Yeah,
and then,
it made absolutely no sense.
He's
and then
normal
he turns out
by
to
the
be,
end.
He turns out to be Tommy, and then who was the kid that Jamie Lee Curtis is babysitting apparently in the beginning in the first movie. And so now suddenly you're like, oh, okay, so he's okay. I don't know why, just because we suddenly know he was a child ever. He suddenly seems okay. And so, but yeah, it was such a weird evolution for his character. Meanwhile, you have Mrs. Blankenship, the landlady, who I was like, from the beginning going, oh, she's part of the cult for sure.
Yeah, there's something evil about her. But the worst people, I mean, the whole Strode family is just a bunch of fucking morons.
Yeah. They are.
And like all of that is like just like really cheap. Oh, the interactions are ridiculous. It's like so over the top. I mean, it makes.
Okay, but before you get to that, I do want to get to that. So hold that thought. But I wanted to answer first the question of which version. So I think everybody's kind of agreed. Producers cut. Well, none or the producers.
If you have to watch one, the producers. Yeah.
If you're gonna, if somebody's gonna tie you up and stick you in the basement and make you listen to our podcast, and also
while the
watch
washing machine is going on and on and on.
Let me just say, we watched this movie in the movie theater in 1995, and Julia literally has no memory of seeing it.
That's why you're married.
I think my ability to just forget things that are not pleasant is probably why we're married.
I mean, isn't that astonishing? Jamie in the theatrical version, which I believe is far worse. It is badly edited. It's really strange. Yeah. I mean, it brings out the worst in all the bad performances. And I feel like the producer's cut, by giving alternate takes for a lot of stuff and having the scenes take a little longer, it almost makes up in a lot of performances. It tells a sort of more coherent story and so forth. But the death of Jamie, by gum, slaughtered on a corn thresher thing in the beginning, that's really, really astonishingly rough, especially when you consider it was part of the reshoots. In other words, after this movie was completed, after Donald Pleasence is dead, they go, or dying, I mean, not coming back, they go, we need some reshoots. For one thing, let's stick Jamie on a corn thresher. That's what, they basically just amp up all the violence, and they also cut the scenes short. And they also added, like you mentioned, the weird lens flare scene changes, which is just super strange. So, all right. One question that I wanted to ask about this movie is Michael Myers. It's called The Curse of Michael Myers. These three movies are the three that get subtitles that indicate that they go together. It's Revenge. What is it? Return, Revenge, and Curse of Michael Myers. What is Michael Myers in this movie, and how is that different from the character as originally?
He is not only immortal in this film, which he obviously is because he electrocutes someone with a metal implement and doesn't get electrocuted himself. He is also magical, because magical outside of himself, because he's able to run the washing machine when the electricity is out in the house. So he's clearly way supernatural now, except for the fact that he does apparently feel a little bit of pain when Jamie whacks him in the arm with a poker. So he feels pain sometimes when it's convenient, I guess.
Yeah.
All the cool ambiguity in the first two Halloween, particularly the first Halloween, about this character is now gone. And what's funny is Jason Voorhees starts out as a character being influenced by Michael Myers. But with like an EC Comics kind of gloss over it, it's much more fun and trashy and less cerebral. And now we're like in the late 80s and then the early 90s with these movies, and we're getting a version of Michael Myers that is now influenced by Friday the 13th movies. Only these movies are not
shittier.
They're not trashy. Well, the thing is about the Friday the 13th movies is they're fun. Like even when they're stupid, they're fun, and they're kind of trashy, so you can laugh at the trashiness of it. You know, there's enough money pumped into this movie that it doesn't have that, and it doesn't have the cool makeup effects that the Friday the 13th movies have. Like, it's a very good point. Michael Myers is not a cool looking movie monster. I say this all the time on social media, and I get lots of eye rolls, but he's not. He's just a guy in a William Shatner mask. So like, you're not even giving that. So what he is, without getting into what's going on in the movie, is this appears to be a Halloween movie that is now being influenced by Friday the 13th movies, which
would
is
you
weird.
even say Friday the 13th? Or to me, Michael Myers in this film, it's less Friday the 13th and more like wacko Raiders of the Lost Ark ripoff kind of stuff. Because
there's a lot of 80s stuff, like stuff hold over from other movies.
I mean, because there's like torches and druids and constellations.
Well, the druid things and all the constellation things, that to me almost seems like they wanted to infuse some of the Halloween 3 energy, but then they forget that a lot of people didn't like. I love Halloween 3, but a lot of people
me too. I'm
down. A lot of people
also like Rosemary's Baby and stuff like that, where they're just going from.
Yeah, it's so funny.
Like
but
what I was talking about last time, I don't think it's just Friday the 13th. I think, again, they've decided, well, there's all of these slasher movies. Let's just kind of throw it all in the kitchen sink in a bowl and see what works or doesn't. Like, here's what kids like. It feels very by committee. Here's what's going on in slasher movies right now.
And the thing is, they're not even figuring this out like ahead of time, Tony. They're sitting around on the set, gathered around the director's chair going, oh fuck, so what do we do? Oh, okay, what do the kids like? All right, here, try this out, actors. And they're just on the fly making stuff.
Well, but the weird thing is, the stuff that's most like the Michael Myers of the original movie. It's so bizarre to think of the Michael Myers of the original movie. The stuff that's frankly most like it is him chasing around the mom, Kim Darby. Even if all the action is dumb and sort of really strains credulity. When you think of like how clever it was having Laurie running out in the street and yelling and nobody will listen to her, and all that great action that goes on in the last like 40 minutes tops of Halloween 1. This is a far cry from that, but still, it's Michael Myers just sort of haunting somebody in a house and trying to kill him.
And that's the closest thing that comes to you.
That bothers me is that in this film, he really doesn't, like, maybe with her a little bit, but with every other person that he goes after, he just pops up and slashes them. There's no haunting. There's no spooking. There's no appearing. Like, we will see him occasionally outside a window, but the people, well, and the little kid does too, but the people don't see, like the grown-ups don't see him and kind of go, oh crap, I got to run away from this guy. They just get killed, like, immediately. Yeah. And that really bothered me. It just felt kind of like, it didn't feel
not
creepy
the kinds
at
of
all.
stuff that he does. Yeah, it's not.
Yeah, it just felt gratuitous.
The other thing that bugs me about this one and in the preceding one is it's like they didn't have the faith that Michael Myers could be creepy. So they had to put in all this stuff, particularly like the Man in Black character. They keep having to cut to that. And it's like, oh, this guy's forget Michael Myers, even though he's what you're paying to see. This new guy, he's the creepy thing.
Yeah.
And it's like I didn't
Style psychologist dressed up in black. He's really fucking scary.
Yeah.
Oh, so you know what the original plan was, right? The original plan, when the screenwriter was writing this, he wanted Christopher Lee to play the part of Dr. Wynn.
Oh,
That would have been
man.
interesting.
It would have been interesting,
Yeah.
not that it matters particularly, but the final unmasking of the Man in Black as Dr. Wynn would be a little bit less suspenseful if Dr. Wynn were played by Christopher Lee.
You'd be like, oh shit, this is
The
the Man
funny
in
thing
Black,
is,
isn't it?
Wynn, right? It's like
The first
I
time
don't
he
like
shows
the
up,
looks
you're
of
like,
that
well,
guy.
we know what's going on here.
Wynn is played by Mitchell Ryan. One thing that I think is really, really cool about Mitchell Ryan, this is a guy who was in the very first episode of Dark Shadows and was on that show for like 100 episodes. He was like one of the original main characters of Dark Shadows before Barnabas Collins. Like, so he's a veteran from back when it was just a gothic soap opera about dark secrets and yada yada. And he was sort of a reliable, sort of chisel-chinned dude who could show up as, a general, or he was Will Riker's father on Star Trek. He was just sort of a reliable guy.
Oh yeah.
And so to some extent, when he shows up here, you still have the thing where, I don't like the looks of that guy. He's probably a bad dude. But the other thing I was going to say about Michael Myers' character is I want to think about this for a second. The other weird thing here in Halloween 6 is that Michael Myers seems to have I'm not being sarcastic. He seems to have a job working for this cult.
Which is so unlikely. Like, why is he not just killing everybody?
Well,
and
that makes him seem so much less frightening because he's not.
And the producer's version, version where everybody's standing around and he walks in and he's looking at everybody. Why is he not just immediately slaughtering everybody?
That is the one thing that I actually prefer about the theatrical release. It makes so much more sense that he just goes nuts and kills all the people in the hospital because that's what he does. Why would he stand there and like just obey
and allow himself to be?
But there's way too many scenes of the problem with the Michael Myers character design, and again, everybody rolls their eyes. It doesn't work in direct light. Like the more lit that you see, the more you see of Michael Myers, the more he just looks like a dude in a William Shatner mask. Yeah. When the sort of stuff that Julia was just talking about, where they have him in a house and it's dark and you don't really see the fact that he's wearing this just like store-bought jumpsuit, and you basically just see this white ghostly head floating around that doesn't really look like William Shatner at that point. It doesn't really look like anybody. That's fucking creepy. But when you put him in light, which they have a lot of in this movie, he's just a dude in a William Shatner mask. He's not scary.
It doesn't have that sort of power. And in this producer's cut, which really truly it's almost like it's like fanfic in a sense. It's like, hey, what if I wrote a story about a sort of a super cult that wants to do some stuff with some satanic power, and what if Michael Myers is their enforcer? Because he is their enforcer. He's like Wilfred Brimley in The Firm. Really, he's basically just this guy, who is part of their group. He's
reduced to this. The thing is, like, it doesn't make any sense. So, like, Michael Myers
is very fanficky, though. You're right about that.
To manipulate or create. So, like, if you're going to do the Rosemary Baby kind of plot, is because you want this demonic presence to take over a person and like rule or lay waste to the plan or something. You don't like bring a demonic presence into somebody so they can go around like killing their family and then pass the curse on to somebody else. It's like it's just so idiotic, clearly just made up on the fly, without any kind of internal logic, much less like external logic. And every new explanation that they pile on in the producer's cut is just make you go, what?
Well,
and then
but it's got such a cool GeoCities site that he's made to explain the
with the floating thorn,
the thorn
and the alignment of the stars.
There's a point when Paul Rudd actually freezes Michael using rune magic by arranging runes on the ground
And then saying instead of pronouncing it correctly, saying Sam Hain instead of
Sam Hain.
Okay,
That bugged me
Yeah,
so
because of
bad.
course you activate Celtic ruins by mispronouncing
Halloween. Mispronouncing Halloween.
And I had lost all respect for him because he was really studying. He would know to say Samhain and not.
Yeah, he would.
Well,
Yeah,
I think to be honest, that's how I thought. That's what I thought the band name was until I knew differently. But if you're gonna study it, right?
Yeah, no, exactly. Like, I mean, just like some like random person, but he's like apparently like pouring his life.
Exactly.
He can stop Michael Myers. He's super powerful apparently. And by the way, how is it that this rune magically appears on people, like the tattoo or whatever? Because the Loomis suddenly, it's like that. What were we talking about? The film where the devil? Did you say it was called Fallen or something?
I think that's
where
called
the devil
Fallen.
hops from person to person.
Yeah.
Anyway, this was the case here. I guess is like that whatever possesses the Man in Black just hops to whoever he decides it should go to when he dies, and then they get the magical sword
tattoo. It would have made a lot
tattoo.
more sense when they knocked him out in the office for him to say, "Okay, boys, go get me the tattoo machine. Let's put some ink on this motherfucker." Yeah,
maybe Michael is the tattoo artist as well. I mean, he can
that
do
would
a
have
lot
been
of
awesome.
things.
He pulls up his. He rolls. That's what he makes money between the alignment of the constellation, dude. He's a tattoo artist, and then you just wait the alignment of the constellation.
I mean, according to this, it looks like they just the cult just has him do odd jobs between alignments. Like
absolutely,
that explains his outfit.
It makes no sense at all that he would be both crucial and like key to their religion, but also a functionary. In other words, if he's key to their religion, he should be sitting on a goddamn throne. He should be like occupying. It's totally bizarre. Now, I just want to mention really quickly, and then I want to return back to the family, as David was pointing out. But I want to mention really quickly, one of the reasons why this script is so bonkers is that number 5, the producer at the end, or maybe it's the director. Anyway, the person with creative control towards the end of the filming of number 5 decided, hey, I'd like to juice things a little bit. I'm going to add this Man in Black character, but I don't really know what it means. Whatever. We'll figure it out later. And then so number 6, rather than just say, we don't know either, we're just going back to hunting babysitters. They were like, hey, you got to creatively figure out what was the deal with the Man in Black. So that's what you're looking at. You're looking at somebody trying to figure out why would there be a dude with silver on his cowboy boots who is here to kidnap, or spring Michael Myers, whatever. This is an attempt at fixing all that stuff. And you're looking also between these two versions, because the theatrical one, remember the producer's one comes first, just doesn't come out. The theatrical one, the studio looks at it and goes, oh, for heaven's sake, this doesn't make any sense. Shoot some new radical graphic violence, cut as much plot as you can, and let's just try and make it so that people don't have to have watched anything else. So that explains the complete failure of the theatrical version, because you watch it and you go, I have no idea what the heck is going on.
It would have made just as much sense if it would have been just Johnny Cash following him around and just singing the ballad of Michael Myers.
It could have been anything.
Much sense.
That would have been awesome.
So before you get into the family, I had a thought about the Paul Rudd character, and the way he behaves and the intensity that he starts out with. Maybe because they set this up for sequels that we never saw, because they wisely set the reset button after this one and just quickly back the formula. We don't like this. Let's bring Jamie Lee Curtis back. It seemed to me that maybe they were wanting like a new Loomis character, because Loomis is always kind of really intense and kind of crazy. And maybe they felt like they needed like a young version of that. And then when they got in a little further into it, they're like, oh, we got this charismatic young guy. Why are we trying to make him Donald Pleasence Jr.? And that's why by the end of the movie, he's kind of bottomed out on the weirdness.
Well,
it's really
solid. They did such a job on Loomis in 5. He's just fucking terrible. So
Loomis loses the plot too.
Then if you're gonna have this person, why make none of the choices? I mean, he's spying on women across the way with his camera, and Like, all of the things just make him a super creep. Loomis was driven, but he wasn't a super creep.
Right. To the extent that Loomis is a creep in number 5, it's because the script is requiring Loomis to push the plot along, and they need to make some big leaps. So,
Although I will say it's super creepy that he just shows up in people's houses and puts his hand on their
That's
shoulders.
true.
Like, that was super weird. Because
That
she's
is.
just like, the mom is just freaked out and nervous, and then suddenly Loomis, like, puts his hand on her shoulder, and she's like, what
He's
the?
literally
She
in the
doesn't go,
house.
who are you? Why are you in my house? She's just like, well, you need to, I even forget what he's telling her, but, like, that's really creepy.
Do you not know that you're living in Michael Myers' house and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, he's like, you need to get out of this house because this is where, and so that actually, so this,
yeah, why not knock on the fucking door? Oh, because we need a jump scare. Okay.
By this point,
you're
though,
right.
he's just like, I'm a Loomis. This is what a Loomis does.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, but at the same time, this is producer stuff, guys. And like, you know, I've never had a script actually filmed, but I've written a bunch of spec scripts and like scripts for the TV series we're trying to get off the ground. And you always get these notes from producers like, there's nothing scary on this page. There should be a jump scare or something on every page. And you're like, what? No, there should not be a fucking jump scare on every page. That means every minute would have something scary. Are you out of your fucking mind? That's ridiculous.
It's a mindless rule. It's just such a completely mindless rule.
Another script that's just called Jump Scare. And it's just like cats coming out of a closet.
This is the sequel to the rooftop one.
Tony, add it to the list of Jump Shark Productions because there should be a movie called Jump Scare. That's brilliant. I love it.
It's just all like Andy Samberg thing movie. Falling into a thing, and a thing falls out of a closet, and
lots of music going. Dun,
every time. Yeah, there's LEDs that are in the doghouse, but it ends up it's just. Somebody put that there, and then the dog comes out. Oh, shoo! It's just the dog.
Tony, none of these jump scares even come close to that movie Terrified, where you keep hearing the thud, 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 and the guy goes into the bathroom, and he walks into the bathroom, and what you see in the bathroom, that's not a jump scare. That's just like, oh my fucking God. What the?
Yeah, no. We should not talk because we need to cover that movie.
I know you guys.
Do not.
No. All I'm trying to say is like that sort of thing is so much more effective than like these cheap jump scares where it's just some random person putting their hand on something. It's like oh God, I just hate it so much.
They did that twice.
It's what producers think. Producers think that's what people want, and so they push for it. It's ridiculous. And this, if there is this is a textbook example of producers over interfering, because when you read like about all these different iterations of the script and all the different things that the screenwriter wanted to do and how it got all winnowed away and diluted to what we got, it's kind of.
The thing is like, I have very little doubt in my mind that the screenwriter of this movie is a big fan of the Halloween franchise.
Oh yeah,
because there's obviously a lot of like the fact that he did bring back the Tommy Doyle character, you know, the fact that he did tie it back into like the Strode family, and you get a better look at Haddonfield, I think, in this movie than in a lot of the other films. He
created a huge binder. He had like mapped out timelines and created family trees, and he had all this interconnected, and so that when he went in, you know, trying to get the job, he had like figured out all of these like really recondite kinds of things that he was trying to sell them, and they were like, oh, we just want scary shit.
Well, but the thing is about that though, Jason said, you know, that it has kind of a fan fiction vibe to it.
Yeah.
And it does. Like, it reminded me, okay, this is another movie that was kind of a mess, but it reminded me when the trailers for Suicide Squad first dropped. And there was all these like crazy theories about who the Joker was, as if being the Joker wasn't enough. Yeah. And so you started getting all these like, oh, the Joker's actually Dick Grayson. Oh, the Joker's actually, you know, you start, and to me, I was like, you know, those to me are like the epitome of like a fanficky kind of idea. And this has got a lot of that in there, you know, like, because like sometimes you can like something to a point to where you're maybe a little too close to it, and you're not being really objective with your decision making.
Well, again, you know, bringing that up about how the interference is, you know, I go back, like I mean, I've been part of things that got changed enough, games and scripts and strange decisions, in media. Jason and I both have. In fact, we've been part of many of those together.
Yes. Yeah, that's true.
It is a shame you have somebody who's got, a certain vision, and it gets, because again, nobody's really out to make something bad. Like, I'm just going to make this bad. But it's rare anyway.
Yeah.
So it does suck when you get a movie that we all hate as much as this, when there's people who are putting their all into it, right? They're doing the best they can with the part of the thing that they were given to do. And again, I've been part of this many times. Like, and just the sum of its parts ends up like this. It's disheartening. I mean, if the screenwriter had all of that, he listened to this, I'd feel super sad because I can empathize.
Absolutely.
But man, either way though, the problem is the consumer doesn't, care and shouldn't have to, and so when you get something like this, it's just such a mess that, man, and it feels that way, this design by committee thing that almost always kills it. I mean, notice it's telling that we watched the producer's cut, right?
Yes.
Like, how often have you seen that too, where it's the producers of blah?
Rare.
Like, wait, what about the creators, the writers, the director? That's who I kind of thought made this thing. Why do I care? Well, from the producers of, I mean, the producer role is important.
Yeah.
But, we're fashioned to believe that the director and the writer and, the actors in that are the ones creating the thing.
Yeah.
So it's always weird to me when you see that line, that can go a lot of different ways.
Well, and it means that we're getting competing creative visions, but not the one that we probably would like to see the most, which is,
oh, sure.
I would really like to see the director's version. We've seen the studio theatrical version. Now we've seen the producer's version, which frankly I think is a little bit better, and it takes more time, and that's nice. Because when you really think about it, what's the big difference between them? It's that most of the plot exposition scenes in the theatrical version, the plot exposition scenes were cut and exchanged for bizarre graphic violence, which is fine. I got no objection to graphic violence, but that's the trade. So I'd rather the producer's cut. But you're right, we're missing another creative version. But having said all that,
does exist. The director's cut does exist. You just can't.
I've never seen it. Is it in?
You
on
cannot
bootleg somewhere?
legally obtain it.
Right.
Do you have a copy? Well, you know what? Just talk to me later. Let's talk
Why
about
would
this.
why would I have a copy of a movie that I hate?
No, he despises it. I cannot imagine how director's cut is going to make the shit any better. I'm sorry.
No.
Well,
No, I think that's what's done.
And
Because-
one reason
is the
why
characters and
Yeah.
the actors are like really, really bad. And so like when that's the material you have to work with, there's only so much that editing can do to save performances, and the rest of it is just like.
And again, going back to where we were kind of headed, starting with the family. The
Yeah.
dad
Yeah.
is just
The dad is horrible.
awful.
Yeah.
So who do we have in this family? You got these parents. I'm going to call him Dad because I completely cannot remember.
They're the
name.
Strodes, just mom
Mr.
and pop
Strode.
Strode. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he is. You're
some
right,
reason they're living
Tony.
in
He
Mike
is
Myers'
just a. Actually, he and honestly, the older son are both written as these sort of broad, almost parodies of human beings.
Yes.
I don't completely get. I'm not trying to be pretentious. I swear to God, I'm not. But these are jokes. These are not real people. He's like, I don't know exactly what this guy's all about. He's
Get
grumpy.
the hell off my lawn, you.
Roar!
bitch.
He's walking around in a bathrobe, and he's
How
like,
how did his family not know that they were like he's
That's
not
another
doing
insane
a
thing. They've
good
been living in that
job
house for a
of
while,
hiding.
and no one in that town has told them, "You guys are like living in the house." Of
oh no,
them."
he knows. He knows. So
He knows, but I
so-
mean the rest of them.
Yeah.
suck.
The
Both of them.
deal is apparently he's a part of the real estate family business of Strodes. That's the family, if you recall, that adopted Laurie,
Curtis. Yeah,
Jamie
right.
Lee Curtis. They I guess bought the Meyers house after the murders because the house was probably super cheap, but they haven't been able to sell it. So one of the members of the family lives in it, and that's our Mr. Strode here. And he's
Strode, right?
Yeah, and he's a dick, and he's got his family there. He hasn't told them this is a murder house. The town, apparently this is the first, it's a little unclear. The script is a little fuzzy on this, but apparently they haven't celebrated Halloween. I know, just
in 6 years, since 1989. Yeah.
They haven't celebrated Halloween since Halloween 5. But they are celebrated this year because we know it, because kids are running around and trick-or-treating. So it's already
and they're in their costumes in the morning.
Well, no, she says it. She said the girl who calls in. I can't remember who calls in, but somebody calls into the radio station and says, "We're taking Halloween back. Like, we've decided that it's time to move on, and so we're we're celebrating it now."
Yeah. And she's actually honestly one of the best characters. It's just like she's like the one redeeming character in the whole thing.
Like her reactions to the dick DJ are great, where he's all like making all these like sexist comments, and she just looks at him like, "You fucking bastard."
And
okay, that's the same girl who calls in. Okay, I didn't remember who it was. That
she doesn't even dignify his
he was so sleazy, that DJ. Oh my god.
Oh yeah.
That was like another 90s thing, though. It's like Howard Stern was like big at that time.
Well, Howard Stern was actually asked to be the character, but he didn't do it. No, but he was. That was another murder that would have been so much more satisfying if it had been built up to. Instead, he just gets in the van and gets throat slashed. Like he never even realizes what's happening. And then I want to know this, and this is the only unrealistic thing in the whole film. How does Michael Myers manage to string this guy up into a tree at the festival without anybody noticing? That's the one thing that I can't.
The same way he makes the washing machine run when the electricity's out.
The magic.
Yeah. Thorn magic.
The washing machine should have had a head in it. I just want to say,
that is ridiculous. It did not have a head in it. And then why is it got like bloody blankets if later the mom pops out of the ceiling and she's wrapped in the blanket?
The blood is just to be gross.
Makes no sense. But
I know. But, like, where did he?
Okay, so Mr. Strode is a joke of a character. It makes no sense at all. This country's going to nothing. My daughter's moved back. You're a little bastard. Blah blah blah. He's very abusive. You're just waiting for him to die. I don't know. Here's my question as a writer, and I mean this honestly, guys. If you are asked to write a character, if you're thinking, I need to have a family character, do you do this? Is this what you do? You make this character a broad caricature so everybody wants to see him die?
No,
is there any benefit? I'm just trying to think if there's any reason why this would be the right choice.
They wanted to have some sort of family, like movie of the week family drama here, but like I just I hate to make this all about Jason versus Michael.
Go crazy.
But I will go this. If these characters were in a Friday the 13th movie, they would be killed a lot quicker.
Yeah.
And their deaths would be so satisfying, especially the dad, because he would get it worse than anybody.
Yeah, he'd get the corn thresher thing. Yeah, I'm with you.
And also Jason. So then Jason is better than Michael. Okay, just had to work that out. All right.
That was your point. Okay,
you're gonna get so much controversy here.
Yeah.
I just wanted to get everybody on the same page about that.
Yeah. So everybody.
How do you really feel though?
Yeah, exactly. Please don't hold back. So all the Strodes are basically like worthless and they get killed off, and so whatever. But the person that we're supposed to be like rooting for is Kara Strode, and she is like the worst mother ever. And like just a bad character. So I love the fact that, first of all, the Paul Rudd character is there with a baby in her son's room, and he's all like, "You're in danger, come with me," and she's like, "Okay," and they just go across the street to his house, and then he's all like,
asked, like, where this baby came from or whose baby it is.
And then he's all like, Michael Myers might show up at your house. Keep an eye on the house. And then she starts like reading all the newspaper clippings. And her son is looking out the window. And he's like, Mom. And she's like, not now. And the son doesn't go, the guy you're fucking supposed to be looking for? He's like standing in front of the house that you were just told to watch. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you, woman? It's just...
Well, and here's the thing about them. Do you know that they had intended, which I think would have been really interesting, because the kid is basically Danny Torrance from The Shining.
Yeah.
He keeps hearing, and his name is Danny. He keeps hearing the voice, which eventually we find out from the creepy landlady. That is also what Michael Myers heard when he was a kid, is this voice telling him to kill.
Yeah.
Well, apparently Danny was supposed to kill his mom. He's supposed to kill Kara.
And one of the endings
bathroom.
that was discarded in the script was that Loomis would find her dead and then find the baby with Danny all stained with blood and stuff like that. So that would have been
super dark, but it sure would have been more interesting than anything that actually
also
happened.
the problem is we already did that
twice.
ago.
A couple of movies ago,
with the little girl. Yeah, that's
that
true.
didn't pan out, so they're like,
Also a better movie.
Yeah, no, it is.
Here's something else about the Kara Strode character. So, I was like really, really down on Marianne Hagen, the actress, and just like her stupid choices, and she's off all the time, whatever. But then I found out in the there's that documentary 25 Years of Terror, a Halloween documentary, and in it she talks about how the Weinsteins, those lovely people, let her know. Well, she found out that they almost didn't cast her because like she was too skinny, her boobs were too small, her chin was too pointy, and so like hearing all that when she was acting, she kept like being really like self-conscious and like touching her chin a lot, and so knowing these horrible comments from the lovely feminist Weinstein brothers, that really, really impacted her acting.
That's amazing.
So
again, that's why like the things where nobody sets out to make this bad thing, but holy crap! I mean, what are you supposed to do with that if you're that actress?
Yeah, no, you can't, and that's actually a real life version of what happens with the sister character. The friend. The best friend character who has to just sort of grit her teeth when the shock jock says all these really demeaning things about her, and that's and you're looking at how that kind of thing would have been handled in the 90s is just literally to go to just inwardly without even saying it out loud, really, and then just continue, because life is too short to try to confront any of these things. Was the way it would be handled.
Another unrealistic thing. About this film, by the way, is when they're talking to the shock jaw guy, and he goes, "Okay, when we come back, we'll be at Michael Myers' house." And then he goes off, and he gets killed in the van. Which why? Oh, by the way, why is that van? Because in the producer's cut, I don't remember if this is the case in the theatrical one. In the producer's cut, they point out that the van that he gets into is from the asylum, from the
he gets in the wrong van. He wants to get in the right van.
Is that just where Michael lives? Does he just live in that van? And that's
Michael
where he's like, "Oh,
lives
hey,
in a van."
The Thorn people have given him a van. It's one of those vans that's been like converted. It's got like a bed in the back.
So the prey just comes to him. He's so lucky, and he happens to get into. Well, I mean, what bad luck for that guy that he gets into Michael Myers' van and then starts dissing Michael Myers, and then of course he gets killed right then.
Well, Michael Myers is a pussy, he says, right?
Exactly. So then Michael Myers is like, "Wait a minute, I wasn't actually planning on killing anybody right now, but that's kind of going to work out just fine for me."
If the murder band's a rockin'.
Exactly. And then the guy and his girlfriend, the son of Strode, and his girlfriend come back to his house, which is where Michael Snyder's house used to be. And they're like, "Oh, well, I guess the DJ's not showing up." Wouldn't the entire, everybody's there to see this guy at this festival? Wouldn't they all have rushed to that house and have been waiting for?
And especially since they're all listening to them, why? And they're having sex in the
movie. Yeah. The sex scene is boring. Beth, though, again, this girl Beth, this character, the one dressed up like the Bride of Frankenstein, frankly, she's the most interesting girl in the whole movie. She actually should be the final girl. I'm sorry to say it, but instead she is basically the PJ Souls character. Instead, she just sort of gets killed. I don't even remember how she gets killed, because I remember the guy gets.
She gets killed right in front of Kara.
Yeah. She's looking through the window, going, "You need to get out of there! There's somebody behind you!" And he's like stabbing her.
Right, that's right. Yeah. But I don't know. Kara, she's more memorable to me than Kara, but whatever. She does perform the function of PJ Souls in the original. So fine. And also, this is the stuff where the movie's on its best footing. This is the stuff where we're most in a familiar Halloween film is, Michael Myers killing people. It is kind of interesting that our final girl is in fact
Killing
this
people for
time
having sex.
a single. Well, the final girl this time is a single mom. That's kind of a neat thing. That's a cool twist. That's all right. But very soon we are free from this point, and the movie, if you're watching the producer's cut, the movie literally has about 10 minutes left because they get basically the kid gets stolen away to the hospital by the man in black, who is revealed to also be Dr. Wynn. We go to the hospital to have there's a big ritual that Michael Myers is sort of standing around for, and let's see, that there's a rescue attempt. But I mean, that whole thing really takes literally like 10 or 12 minutes after the point where they lose the kid after he gets kidnapped. It's very strange. In the theatrical cut, that's like a whole like 30-minute segment because they reshoot the whole thing to add more action and a whole bunch of crazy deaths because, as we all pointed out, more logically is the way it goes in the theatrical cut, which is that the Michael Myers suddenly realizes that he has no particular reason to stand around and take the orders of a bunch of weird cultist functionaries, and so he slaughters them all while they're in the middle of some kind of surgery, the purpose of which I literally never quite understood. But in the original, no, it wraps up super quickly. I want to point out something really wild, and if you're on our Facebook page, you've already seen this, but the music, every time you see torches in this thing, every time it is a satanic scene, the music is Popol Vuh. It is the reuse. It is a sample from the title cut of the 1979 Nosferatu by the prog rock band Popol Vuh. That is so cool. I think that was really neat. That was a deep cut, and I thought that was cool. For what that's worth. Of course, if you want to hear that, it's available through Amazon, so you don't actually need
Also, you could just watch Nosferatu instead of this. 'Cause we walked you through it. You can just do the podcast and then go watch like a good movie.
That used to get sampled a lot because I remember Battlestar Galactica used it once. If once you hear it once, you'll never forget it because it's great stuff. Gosh, I don't know. Do you guys want to get into all the things that go on in Act 3, which is in the underground of this?
And then there's Michael Myers showing up as like, hey, I guess I'm hanging, watching you guys do cult things. That's pretty cool. Normally I'm killing people, but I'll hang in the back. So that's watching.
Yes, I'm the key to your religion, but I'm gonna just stand over here right now.
So yeah, like ultra boring. I hope you kill people soon. I mean, that's the person I usually like to kill. But if you guys want to do it, I guess I'll watch in the back. You guys got
and then you've got an entire room full of psychos and killers and cultists.
Oh, yeah.
But Tommy Doyle with his knife is going to save the day and manage to get everybody free and run out. And then
oh god,
what happens then? Like he gets them out. They run into a dead end, and that's when he does his rune magic, I think, to get Michael.
Yes.
Michael.
In the hallway.
And then they find out that thinking back, none of it just. It so doesn't make any sense. Like,
in one version,
the guy gets revealed, and then Donald Pleasence gets the rune for.
Yeah, magically appears on his forum. And how does Tommy even know? Like, he's trying a code to get out of that place. Does he work there? Why does he think that code's going to work?
It doesn't work.
There's
it doesn't
so
work.
Many things.
Well, okay.
Because he had some computer skills. We made a Unicity site.
That's the way hacking works, right? Is it you just push the buttons randomly?
Yeah, but apparently, and I don't even know if this would be the case. I have no idea. But Donald Pleasence carries a gun, and the gun will open any door. All he does is shoot the lock. Actually, to be honest with you, this is a common thing for Donald Pleasence's character. He shoots locks, and it works. That is his mutant. If you were like his mutant power is shooting locks and they open. This
is why he got chosen to be the bearer of the thorn mark.
Right.
So did they think like how did they think they were going to get several more sequels out of Donald Pleasence?
No way.
Like,
no way. This man is the Walking Dead. When you're looking,
like this is a setup though for Donald Pleasence to be like the new
it is
cult leader.
No, you're totally right. You're absolutely right. The character is being set up. Donald Pleasence is going to be the new cult leader, which makes no sense at all because he clearly doesn't want to, right? But whatever. I mean, that could be interesting. But Donald Pleasence, the actor, is clearly very sick. You know, he has months to live, and that should have been blatantly obvious to everybody. And bless his soul, I'm glad that he's doing a good job. He clearly is quite vigorous, but he's sick. You know,
He's the best thing about this terrible movie.
absolutely.
He's much
Like,
better than he was in 5.
Oh, yeah.
And they
Yeah.
made him a better character than in 5. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like he's back to kind of just being the Loomis we expect.
Yeah.
And not a strange
Ranting maniac. Yeah.
Right.
like, and you know, and man, more power to him for giving it whatever he could. That's a true actor, you know.
Yeah, and he made it clear. Donald Pleasance said several times that these were inoffensive to him. He would keep doing these as long as they asked him to. You know, he was like, because it's, because to an extent, if you think about it, if this one's bad, the next one's good. Ultimately, it doesn't matter. All anybody's going to remember is, hey, Donald Pleasance played this awesome character. I liked seeing him in it.
Sure.
There's going to be another one next year. I'll watch that one too. You know, there's a comfort in a series where it can frankly sustain a bad one, and so he was down doing it.
This franchise needs a Loomis character because that's once you got into what they did with it afterwards, and actually what it kind of looks like they're doing in the new one, they sort of turned Laurie Strode into the Loomis character.
Yeah, it's certainly the character she plays in H2O. I haven't seen
and the new one from the trailers, it looks very much more of that, where she's the new one that says outrageous things and gets to do badass stuff, and
Man, I'm so
she's like Linda Hamilton in
I've
Terminator
seen this
2.
movie. I can't say anything. I don't want to spoil anything, but I'm like
Okay. Yeah.
I can't wait till everybody can see this movie because it's really like it.
We intend to see it this week, for what it's worth. We do intend to.
We will join you in the glorious bask of Jamie Lee Curtis's scream forever, the greatest scream queenness
of not Halloween 6.
Of not Halloween. Well, yeah. No matter what I think about it, I can't imagine. As much as I don't like the Rob Zombie ones, having revisited this, those got kind of a bump up.
Yeah.
Because those at least have some cool visual weird. They're still bad, but they have.
I don't even know that they're bad. I think Jason and I are coming around to the idea that they're a little better and more subversive than we first gave them credit for it.
I agree with you completely.
I would say that they're certainly better than this trilogy. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well, I had never.
Which isn't saying much, I guess.
I'm a huge fan of Zombies music and of the Lords of Salem. I was left sort of just not all that interested in Halloween 1. I recently saw Halloween 2, and I like the fever dream that it is. I think that that's really crazy, which is literally probably a more controversial thing to say than anything I could say about Halloween 6. Because, boy, people still like to get up in the middle of the night. They hate on Halloween 2. Yeah, people hate that film. Boy.
We're talking, talking about the Rob Zombie reboot. We're now in a movie that has a movie series that has 3 movies just called Halloween.
Yes.
I was thinking the other day, you know how they call the new Predator was the Predator, and then they're always Rambo or something like that. If they had called this the Halloween.
Originally it was going to be called Halloween Returns, which is not a great title, but essentially
they could have called it Sam Hain.
That's Sam Hain.
I think they should have called the new one Halloween 2 Halloween 2 3.
Halloween 2 3. That's a funny idea. That's a great idea.
Halloween 2
that
3.
That sounds like this game that these friends of mine and I play at work, where you combine 2 sequels into a new movie. So it's got a thing. So it's Ghostbusters 4 Ghost 2. You just combine 2 sequels together that makes a 3rd movie.
Yeah, that's pretty good. But you know, I mean, there is something to be said for this because I think that the directors and producers and writers all realize that no matter what the franchise is, when you go to buy the tickets, like it's the new Star Wars movie, you're like, I want tickets to Star Wars. You're not like, can I get tickets to, to The Last Jedi? People don't say that. Like, Star Wars.
The Last Jedi.
Okay. So I want tickets to Halloween. Which Halloween? The one that's showing right now, motherfucker.
That's showing, right, exactly. It's Halloween 2018. It's just like if you're going to see your favorite band's current tour, it's the tour of this year. I mean, they do have names, right?
But like nobody really uses them except for the promotional materials.
So here's a question. What is the best part of Halloween 6? Because I can tell you what I think the best part is. What is the most functional thing to you of this movie? You can go in any order.
I'm not going to say it's functional. I actually really thought, I was super impressed when they're in the weird cult thing where the cultists are all revealed inside of the house of it's not Michael Myers' house, it's actually Tommy's house, right, that they're in? Or is it Michael Myers? No, it's in Tommy's house. Yeah, so they're in Tommy's house, and all the cultists show up, and they trap Kara, and she's about to get killed, and she dives out that window. And I was like, that is an impressive-ass stunt, because you see whoever this female is, I don't even know, just jump through this plate glass window, all these shards of presumably, some kind of glass that's safe, sugar glass or whatever, but still, and then just dives out. I was like, that is a really impressive stunt. That actually really struck me. And I have to say that was a really cool thing that I was impressed by, and that's probably the only thing.
Does anybody else have something you would throw out as the thing that really works?
I'll give you what I think is the best thing and what I think is the stupidest thing. So the best thing is that this is the only Halloween film up to this point to be filmed in the fall, and so the street scenes with the leaves on it looks really beautiful. It's really, really nice. And then the stupidest thing is how Paul Rudd is able to listen to the recording of the call into the show, and then he rewinds it on his and there's like this kind of glitchy and he rewinds the reel and listens to it again, and this time instead of being all glitchy, you can clearly hear the voice saying train for or bus for whatever So
but that's the rune magic.
World,
that's the rune magic, David.
Yeah, exactly.
The rune magic.
Rewinds, and because he's got the runes in the bag, it's just the act of rewinding the tape clears up all of this. It's just great. Can you imagine? He was really needed. And what was that John Travolta film where he's like listening to the tape?
Blowout. Sorry,
Blowout. Yeah. So if this character, Tommy Doyle, had been there to help the John Travolta character with his rune bag, the film would have been a lot shorter. It would have been clear.
Your rune bag.
I think that is pretty much ripped off of The Fugitive, which just came out like a couple years earlier, where they figure out that they got to go to Chicago because they can hear the PA guy talking about merchandise.
But he doesn't even like turn it up or use his like 1995 computer to like edit the sound or like any kind of like bullshit.
And because he's got nobody else,
rewinds it and it's clearer.
Yeah,
well, he's a hacker.
Yeah,
clearly. So he can use a computer. So all the things, you just hack the things.
Hack the planet.
Like they don't even bother with it. It's just what's so sad.
Yeah.
So my favorite thing about this movie isn't actually a scene per se. It's just a visual image of the Strode house with the sign that the kids have put on it with Michael Myers.
Yes.
And it's got all the fall leaves around it and the Halloween decorations and everything, and it's got this they made this makeshift sign with a Michael Myers mask on it that says he's coming. And I think that's a great image, and I think it actually kind of summarizes the franchise down to like its purest elements. And if there was one thing that I feel like is artful about this whole movie, it's that single image. I don't really have much else nice to say about this movie.
I think that's fair. I think that is really cool. Tony, did you have anything that you would point out as what works for you here?
I mean, much like this movie, to me, nothing's really memorable. I watched the producer's cut. and it's longer. I mean, Donald Pleasence has given it his all, and he's a professional. He's gonna be as awesome as he can be, and whenever he's on screen, cool, we got more Donald Pleasence for this short period of time. But
True.
other than that, I mean, it's just such a mess. Just a weird, tangled mess that lots of people, put their best work into, and yet here we are.
I will say that I believe that the opening scenes with the Danielle Harris, it's not the Danielle Harris character anymore, Jamie. That's all pretty suspenseful to me. From the moment when she escapes from the hospital and she's being chased, and through the bus station and then into the, different vehicles, out windows, and then out to a barn. This is all a pretty heavily like storyboarded, moment to moment, suspenseful sequence.
Actually,
so I thought that
when she's in the station when she's in the building where she stashes the baby, all of that stuff is actually pretty good.
Yeah,
like
that's a strong opening.
All
really.
that stuff is actually pretty good.
How did nobody find that baby, by the way, before Paul Rudd? There's tons of people in that bus terminal.
Because the movie goes off the rails as soon as that scene is over. This is the this is the best moment of the film, and really, as soon as it kills Jamie, it all just sort of goes off the rails. And interestingly enough, in the producer's cut, that doesn't even happen. She gets stabbed, she survives, and then it doesn't matter because she gets
ceremoniously shot in the head by the Man in Black.
For heaven's sake. Oh, it's God bless. Anyway, that opening sequence I still think works pretty well. I have come down on a lot of movies a lot harder than this, and I've watched a lot of far worse films than this, but
whatever. No, you haven't.
No,
I'm trying to think.
Nah,
the naked vampire movie is better than this one, dude. What was the name of that one? That European vampire film that you guys saw where they were naked all the time? That was better.
That at least had nudity.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Are you talking about vampires? The sort of sexy vampire movie that we did?
That's what I'm talking about. From
your Milano movie, Embrace of the Vampire?
Oh no, not that one.
That's not.
There's
on that one.
Okay, if you want to do your bracket, the question is Embrace of the Vampire.
My favorite, Jason has talked before about we should have an episode where we talk about our favorite moments from the podcast, and we're all like, I don't know, but my favorite moment from this podcast is Tony flipping out about Jason making him watch Embrace of the Vampire, having not seen it before. It's the funniest thing I've ever heard in my entire life.
The minute diatribe that he went on, that's classic.
That was so funny.
I was driving down the road. I think I was driving to Austin, and I was just like laughing my ass. It was so funny. Oh my god!
So
glad somebody profits from my.
It kept me awake in a very difficult stretch of highway
entertainment.
Oh, geez.
We really must do a bracket of all the movies we've done to see how they come out. Like to see what, like, does Halloween 6 rank better than Embrace of the Vampire? But the thing is, there's a weird I think that was called The Devil's Wedding Night. Maybe no, that's something
that
else.
had Elvira. Elvira instantly makes everything better.
So the question is, was that The Devil's Wedding Night? And forgive me for mixing them up, but the one with the ring that the twins were trying to get a hold of.
That is The Devil's Wedding Night.
Okay. So that is a dumb movie from beginning to end. If Devil's Wedding Night is what it's called, then great. That's a bad film. And the question is a bad Italian / Spanish filmed without sound, poorly dubbed, is that kind of movie a better, like, how do we rank that? How do we compare the experience of that versus Halloween 6?
I think that boils down to your personal flavor of schlock. I think that is like, if you are into like bad slasher movies, this is probably going to be more your jam. But if you're more into bad vampire movies, this will no doubt.
What the difference is that those movies are made like honestly by a director that has some kind of vision, and it's a bizarre vision that doesn't quite like mesh with like anybody's expectations for quality. But there's something kind of quaint and admirable about the fact that they pursued that like very singular vision and made this film. And you can watch it, and even though maybe there are like objective measures of quality that would say that it's worse than Halloween 6, it's more palatable because it's not like this. The Halloween 6, the reason they reshot the ending is because they did a screening with 14-year-old boys, and the 14-year-old boys told them the ending was boring, so they reshot the film. That's what there's no singular vision. This is just like fucking like just throwing darts at the wall and saying, what's gonna sell. And there's a crassness about this film that makes it unpalatable compared to those kinds of things.
By the way, those are worse because I've been part of a focus group for a game, hosted by a major game developer actually, and I was in charge of basically formulating, what I could take away from this focus group. It was on VHS, and then transcripts, and it was the worst. It was the worst. Like, what'd you glean from this? They like everything and they hate everything.
Yeah.
I know that I'll probably be part of that at some point, but it is soul crushing that these are the people determining how you make your art.
Yeah.
I want this to be more modern, but I also like how it's set not modern. Like everything was a contradiction, and yet you're supposed to find some roadmap from it. And usually what happens, and I've seen this and been part of this, is a producer. Again, I have friends who are producers. This is not meant as a knock to you, but producers I have dealt with pick this one thing, and it can be a thing that they heard their nephew liked when they were hanging out at Thanksgiving, or it could be this one thing that they somehow like. If you watch the Superman movie documentary about the Superman movie that never got made, I love giant spiders. Well, I can't make the Superman movie, so I'm going to put it in Wild Wild West. There's something like, I love these things. And then that person who's not the creative driver has decided that this thing, and again, maybe this isn't high art, but it's still somebody's creative passion. It's at least commercial art, has decided like, no, we're going to do this. And the idea that we're going to make this decision based on a focus group of 14-year-old boys,
it's pretty sad.
I just know how that works, and it makes me even sadder that we dislike this movie this much, because I like I said, I doubt anybody intended for that to happen.
No, of course. Well, and I think it would be a mistake to say. So, David, I think you're onto something, that there's probably some more creative freedom in like random Spanish and Italian, but those are made in a sort of those are still made in a mercenary surrounding. Those are still made by studios. It's just a different system. But having said all that,
but some of those films are like clearly, whatever is like the driving force behind them, they're made by directors and writers with a vision, and they're not focus grouping the hell out of things and being like commercial,
and many times they make no sense. None.
Yeah.
I mean, truly, honestly, I challenge you to watch The Devil's Wedding Night or The Devil's Nightmare and tell me and recap for me exactly what happens in those films. Having said that, I'd watch them over and over again, just over and over. No problem at all. And so I guess the thing is, this is more of what Joe Bob would have called like indoor bull stuff. This is just a regular Hollywood sort of bright and shiny slasher movie, and in the end, to the extent that it fails, it's because it doesn't handle that except rather stupidly, and that's
it's no fun.
Yeah,
well said. It's no fun. That's really the thing. Like all you really want out of this movie is to have some fun, and it doesn't deliver on that. Because like I've watched movies from the same time period that are probably the same, film by committee kind of vibe, and I still find them more enjoyable than this, because at least I have a little bit of fun watching it. Like this just doesn't deliver that.
Yep. So let's get our final thoughts. That's a really interesting discussion, I have to say, about Halloween 6. So let's get our final thoughts. same order. Drew, Tony, Julia, David. Drew, do you have anything else to? I mean, that was a good summation. But if anything else that you would like to wrap up with about Halloween 6?
I get, because of the discussion that we have, I get why this movie is kind of fascinating to horror fans, because it is an oddity and it's a weird movie. It's just not weird in a way that I find endearing. And I know that it has its fans, and again, I get why it's fascinating. But I'm gonna close out by playing a little bit of Watch This, Not That.
Okay.
If you want to watch a movie where there's a small town and there's a cult and you want something creepy and weird, watch The Wicker Man instead.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm closing on. Watch The Wicker Man instead of this movie.
Good. All right. Tony, final thoughts, Halloween 6.
I definitely would not watch it again by choice. I think Drew's onto something. I would be curious, now that I think about it, because of our age and how we grew up watching horror, if the people who really love this movie are some of the people who had to dig to find the producer's cut. Because there is a certain buy-in that you had to do if you found something weird or off and you had to go searching for it, and maybe you find it at a con and all that. I would be curious if that nostalgia and that hunt is part of what makes this people's favorites. And not that it has to, but I would be curious what the over-under is on that. Also, by the way, if you're going to play this or that, if you want to see another good cult movie, Race the Devil.
Oh,
There's a movie that doesn't let up.
Oh, holy mackerel. Yeah. Race
You want
the
to see
Devil.
a cult movie? That one. Man. That's the one everybody should add. Devil.
David Sutherland, right? And Sergeant Hulka from Stripes. I feel so embarrassed right now that I'm blanking on his name.
Peter Fonda and Warren Oates.
Warren Oates, yes, thank you. Yeah.
Man, Race with the Devil has all the cult. No, all killer.
Yeah.
Just fucking bleak as hell, too.
That's really good.
So good.
It is really good.
None of this sitting around in a cult room BS.
That's a wonderfully paranoid film. That it's about two best friends who decide that they're going to grab a Winnebago and their wives and go driving across the country to go camping. And all the small towns they go to have been taken over by Satan. It's awesome. It's so bizarre. It's really that's just it's a wonderful sort of weird paranoid thing. All right, so
before Satanic Panic was a thing, really, it was.
So your final thought about Halloween 6 is watch a satanic movie with Warren Oates.
Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna watch a cult movie, and I'm gonna go with Drew. If you're gonna watch something else, or of course, like I said, I'm gonna always stick with Trick or Treat, not with the R. Trick or Treat from '86.
Both good movies, but I'm hearing you.
Like I said, I've told people this on Facebook. If I'm talking about Trick or Treat, it is always the one with Sammy Kerr.
Yeah.
If I say the movie, if I go, hey, the movie Trick or Treat, it's never the Sam Kidd one. Even though, I don't hate on that, but if you hear it from my mouth, it is always from '86.
Yeah, the one with Ozzy. Yeah, I'm with you.
Awesome Fastway soundtrack, which is an awesome soundtrack no matter what. That album, the Fastway Trick or Treat soundtrack, is one of my top albums of all time.
Julia, what are your final thoughts about Halloween 6?
Well, so I think if I'm looking at this film as, kind of model in what it is I'd like and don't like about films, like why don't I like this film, aside from many obvious reasons, I really just think it's complicated. It's overcomplicated. Like you just need, I think Drew was maybe the one saying that, you just got to go back to the formula and just have it be Michael Meyers is the bad guy and other people are trying to get away from him, and then there's some contagonist cop or something, sheriff or whoever, somebody else. But having this whole complicated, weird cult thing and having people speak with the creepy, the stupid, if you're telling a ghost story around the campfire kind of voice, including Stephen Rudd, who, again, is not the same as Paul Rudd that we've seen in everything else, and all the overcomplications. They didn't need any of that, and what they needed instead was more atmosphere, more creepiness. Just stick with what you know, and stop trying to. It's like and people will differ on what were the good X-Files episodes, or what were the good, whatever series you might like, where some of the episodes are going to be story arc episodes, some of the episodes are going to be standalones. But for me, it's like once you got away from the sort of clean, it's the Cancer Man's bad, there's Alien of the Week, and then you got Scully and Mulder, and you got into all this weird stuff with clones and bees and I don't know what. I was like, why would you do that? Just stick with what's good and what everybody likes. Even though I recognize that with a TV series it's harder because you can't maintain it over so many episodes, but you can maintain it for 6 movies. I don't know why it's not. I don't know. So that's my thing. If it comes down to it, it's too complicated and not atmospheric enough.
Wonderful. All right. And David, what about you?
The movie's bad.
Yes.
Don't watch it. Don't watch it. Just pretend it doesn't exist. I had never seen it until this month, and I've seen both the theatrical and the producer's version, and I could have lived my entire life without having seen either one of them, and I will be happy never to watch them again.
All right. Halloween 6 versus Michael Myers' Weird Nightmares from the 2009 Halloween 2.
Yeah, how the 2009 Halloween 2 win. I mean, it wins
Totally.
because if you're gonna go weird with Michael Myers, making him be the product of some like cult and like retrofitting all of this stuff and making Dr. Wynn from the first movie like be in on this like the cult, and even though he's played by a different actor or whatever, having to like retroactively make all that stuff happen, retconning it, it would be better just to go ahead and give him an interior life, give him like what happens with the Rob Zombie films, where he's a character who's obsessed with his mother and with all these symbols, and he is like there's something going on inside of him that we see in his weird dreams, rather than just the blankness. Because if you can't just leave the blankness alone, like Julia's suggesting, and just have film after film of him just like kind of like the Die Hard films where it's like Michael Myers on the subway, or Michael Myers in the big city, Michael Myers gets to Chicago or whatever, that would have been a lot more entertaining and fun, along the lines of also what Drew's been suggesting. But if you're going to go with something really different, the cult thing doesn't make any sense. And something like him like having these bizarre visions of his mom and stuff like that seems to be at least more in line with the idea of being a serial killer than this kind of weird cult that who knows what they want. It's a mess, and if you're going to do the cult thing, you do it from the very beginning. You have it planned out. You have it, which hardly anybody does. People who make movies and TV are like really fucking irresponsible. It's like Lost. The way it was pitched, like, yes, we've got this wonderful idea. It's going to be great. They're going to crash on. Are there anything supernatural? No. They're survivors of a crash, and there's weird stuff going on, but it's not supernatural. And then, then they're like, oh, the pilot gets successful, gets picked up, and they're like, oh shit, now we have to like figure this out. What's going to happen? And so many filmmakers are like that. They have a great idea, but they don't put in the time to build the universe and stuff like that, because they just want to crank out the next project. And to me, that's what's happening here. It's irresponsible filmmaking, the epitome of it. And I don't like it. In my
mind, though, now I am picturing a series of postcards with Jason hiding behind the laundry in like different cities. Like London, it's got like, landmarks, like each one of them is an establishing shot, but it's Michael Myers.
He's like the Maytag repairman, is what you're saying?
Yeah.
No. Well, he, that's his shtick, right?
Or it's like Slender Man, right? Or like all those freaking images of Slender Man, like just like everything's normal, and there in the background is Slender Man. So it's like a couple,
just all these cities.
Yeah. The couple is like taking a picture of Big Ben, and like you zoom in, and like at the top of Big Ben, there's Michael Myers just sitting there.
I would totally be down
waiting for nightfall, looking up at the sky to see whether a Thorn aligns or whatever. I don't know.
See, to their credit, this is actually what the Friday the 13th movies actually did. It's just like you just airlift Jason to a different spot and just let him free,
and then take him to space eventually. Yeah, fuck yeah.
And
Jason went to space, and it was awesome.
Yes,
right?
Sure it was. He's a wind-up doll, and you just let him loose, and he just starts slaughtering people, and that's fine. And he looks cool.
Yeah.
I'm more enthusiastic about the Michael Myers mask than you are, Drew. But I'm with you. The hockey mask is pretty cool.
It's
I,
not
I
even just the mask, it's the whole design of the character is cool. Like Jason Voorhees makes a great action figure. There's lots of different versions of him. You have more zombified, less zombified. You know, he's deformed. You know, like so like when you take off the mask, he's not just some dude, he's a monster. Like
although presumably
Michael
Myers is like all burnt up now. His
yeah,
face
that's
is...
true. He probably looks like Freddy Krueger now. But like I just think he looks cooler. And I mean, admittedly, that's like my childhood bias.
This reminds me. I should add, there is one other thing that I kind of liked about the producer's cut, and it was the very last scene where, you know, for a moment you think it's the man in black walking away, and you see his face in profile, and it's actually Michael Myers. He's been
Michael Myers. Yeah, you forget that he's smart enough to dress up in costumes. Yeah, that's wild.
It's kind of cool.
Again, he's free to do the world tour. Ta-da!
Yeah.
Postcards.
Yeah, the idea that Michael Myers puts on a trench coat and a big hat and is walking away, yeah, that's
cool.
What a strange character. That was kind of cool. Yeah. Okay. Well, then that's I have nothing to add. I'm really glad that we discussed that, but I have no final thoughts whatsoever. I think I've talked enough. I feel like I've been unduly harsh to all the other movies, because I feel like I haven't, like, it's not fair how mean I've been about other movies compared to this one, which I think is really trying. So not like it's trying very hard. I mean, it's like very trying on us to watch. Okay.
That's better.
But let's get our
Thanks for
thoughts.
explaining.
Yes, of course. All right. I want to know what you guys are watching. I know that we would all endorse the new Halloween movie, but I would ask you save that one because we're going to discuss it next week anyway. So lead us somewhere else. Drew, Tony, Julia, David, I'll go. Drew, what do you got for us this week?
Well, I have comic book signings, first of all. My buddy Matt Live, who is in a band called Free Runner, he has made a comic book about his band. They are doing a signing next weekend of the comic book. The writer Shannon Brewer is going to be there. Both Matt and Shannon are big supporters of Halloween Man. So I want to plug their signing next week at Dragon's Lair in Austin. It's going to be at 6 p.m. The band is going to play a few songs, and they're going to have comic books there to sell. I have read the comic book. It is super fun, like Saturday morning cartoon kind of vibe. And like I think if you grew up on like the old Hanna-Barbera cartoons, I think you'll enjoy the book. So if you're not doing anything in Austin next weekend in like the early evening, go hang out at Dragon's Lair up north for a while. But just down the street and a week later, I have to plug my own book signing, which is going to be for the Bat City special, which is finally coming out. We crowdfunded it, and as promised, we are going to have a Halloween party at Austin Books and Comics on North Lamar, from 5 to 8 in the evening on Halloween, October 31st. So come hang out with me and meet some of the coolest underground cartoonists in Austin. I have one or two more. I've been gone, so I have
go crazy.
Indulge me a little bit. I'm endorsing that everybody goes to the city of Sleepy Hollow or in the fall. City. It's a village. I shouldn't say city. Sleepy Hollow, New York was one of the places I went on my vacation, and it was magical. Like the whole weekend, it was one of the best weekends of my life. We went to this thing called the Hudson Valley Blaze, which was a jack-o'-lantern festival, and they had 5,000 jack-o'-lanterns carved into amazing, beautiful sculptures, all lit up, and then you're just stunningly beautiful. And I should post some of the videos on our Facebook group so people can see this, because like I my words are not going to do it justice. And then the next day, we walked around Sleepy Hollow and we checked out all the Headless Horseman stuff. And Sleepy Hollow Cemetery is amazing, and you actually learn a lot about how that story came to be, and like the people that it was based off of, and the folklore that it was based off of. And you can see Washington Irving's grave, which is cool. You can see Katrina Van Tassel's grave, believe it or not, because she was a real person. And I was just so utterly charmed by how all in Sleepy Hollow is about the Headless Horseman. Like, it's on everything. It's their high school football mascot. It's on their cop cars. They have a statue of the Headless Horseman in their downtown area. I saw the Headless Horseman bridge, which is of course now part of a highway, but it's still kind of cool because like if you look right across the bridge, you can see a preserved colonial village. Like the original village is still there. So like I've been, I'm an Elvis fan. I've been to Memphis many, many times. But the thing is, people are kind of, they feel very odd about Elvis in Memphis. Like there's this sort of like blasé, like, oh yeah, that's the thing that brings in tourists. Sleepy Hollow is not like that. They love the Headless Horseman. Like the community pride about the Headless Horseman was I was just so charmed by it. And I ended up buying, and it worked because I ended up buying like a bazillion Headless Horseman things while I was there. So if you get a chance in your lifetime, go to Sleepy Hollow, New York in September or October. Particularly go one of the weekends when the Hudson Valley Blaze is going on, and just have a good time, because I just loved everything about it. My final endorsement, this is an entertainment endorsement. All 3 seasons of Hannibal is now on Amazon Prime, and I avoided watching that show when it was on because it was just so hyped up. But oh my god, Hannibal is so freaking good, and it's beautiful. Like it takes a completely different approach to the characters than any of the films. It's very surreal. It's like pretty to look at, as strange as that might sound. And all of the actors on it are fantastic. Like the cast is uniformly just great. And Mads Mikkelsen, I think I'm saying his name is right, is fantastic as Hannibal Lecter. Like he
Mads
Mikkelsen. Right. He is phenomenal as Hannibal Lecter. And my god, Hollywood, make a Dracula movie with this guy as Dracula like tomorrow. Stop what you're doing. This guy was born to play Dracula, because like he's just got it. So like Hannibal, watch all 3 seasons. You'll probably end up doing it like I did anyway, because it just sucks you in. So those are my
sorry. I still can't believe the gore was on primetime TV.
Oh my god.
Gut wrenching. Like there was stuff that I found hard to take. Yeah. And I watched this crap all the time.
The rules about gore on TV have changed very much in the last
the food porn may have made up for it, because like the food is beautiful. Like I if you were served that and you didn't know what it was, you'd eat it.
Oh yeah. I mean, all of it's a really well done series. There were things in it that really pushes the am I going to go through? Am I going to keep going or not?
Yeah,
but it's really well done.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Drew. Tony, did you have any endorsements for us this week?
I'm still playing Fist of the North Star: Lost Paradise, which is the right amount of gore and absurdity and cathartic fun after a stressful day's work. I also got David to watch Terrified, and so we have to cover this movie. It's so good. And I found out today, and I'm going to go out on a limb on this one. There's a producer, Heather Buckley, who I see at Fantastic Fest all the time. She's super cool. Is producer of a movie called The Ranger, which showed at South by Southwest. And Shudder just picked it up, but it's gotten a lot of great early buzz. It says, hey, this is a punk rock splatterfest in the vein of Night of the Living Dead and Class of '84, that kind of stuff, which has my Heather's super cool. I've heard nothing but good things about Jen Wexler, the director. So I'm going to go out on a limb, having not seen this movie, and say keep it on your radar because it has a lot of the things that make my ears perk up. And knowing the people involved, I'm hoping it lives up to the hype. But I'm going to go with, you can find, I had to post the trailer, but the announcement just went up recently that The Ranger is picked up by Shudder. So
fantastic.
Punk rock and horror is definitely, I think Drew and I will definitely be in on that. So I hope that it lives up to the hype, but knowing the people involved, I'm feeling pretty good about it. So we'll see when it comes out on Shudder.
All right. Julia, what about you? Do you have anything to endorse? We had a snow day today, so I don't know if you took the time to watch some horror movies, but...
Yes, I always watch horror movies when I have the opportunity. No, I don't. I actually tell Jason every time he says, "Do you want to watch this horror movie?" I'm like, "Is it for the podcast?" And he says, "No." I'm like, "Then no, thank you."
We're
gonna see Halloween this week. I'm excited to see that because I've heard good things. Let's see. Gosh, this weekend is kind of a blur as far as I feel like I was busy, but I don't know that I actually accomplished anything. No, we are watching the Doctor Who. I talked about that last time, and I think I've mentioned that I'm enjoying that the show about the people who go missing for 5 years after in the airplane. Manifest. And so that's a good. But I don't think I have anything new, and we're already marathon length here, so I think I'll just let you guys take the rest of my time here.
David, do you have anything that you would like to endorse?
So in addition to seeing the really, really amazing Terrified, Aterrados, and that is such a good film. I also saw this German horror film called Cold Hell. Super good, really amazing film. Like kind of more actiony, revengey kind of horror film. But definitely really, really badass. And then because I got Shudder for the first time to see Terrified, I watched the Wolf Creek TV series because I liked the two movies and I had heard about this TV series and never seen it. And I really, really like that. Again, a movie about a woman just deciding, she's not taking in any more shit and just getting back. And if you've ever seen the other two movies with the really, really menacing Mick, whatever his last name is.
Wait, the Australian thing?
Yeah, the Australian thing. So they made a TV series, a 6-episode TV series in which there's a survivor of one of his little things, and she decides to track him down and dispose of him. So it's a really, really, really beautifully shot, really interesting series. And I started watching today on Netflix, The Haunting of Hill House, and oh my God, guys, that TV series, I wasn't even on my radar. It is so good. It
is actually really good. Jamie and I were watching that as well.
Yeah, isn't it good?
I've heard,
you definitely need to see it. You will like it a lot. You will like
Jason,
I'm see it ASAP.
Yeah.
Jason, if you can get past that, it's basically taking names from the book and coming up
giving
with
them
a completely different story.
Yeah,
but it's a cool story. It's really compelling.
It is.
I'm interested. I'm down with the. I haven't been in any particular hurry. But if everybody's saying it's really great, then I'll totally watch it. All I had known before, it's a thing called The Haunting of Hill House. It doesn't have anything to do with The Haunting of Hill House. I'm like, okay, fine. It's like making a movie called Oliver Twist, but just so you know, it's not really based on Oliver Twist. That's weird, guys. That's super strange.
It does play a lot of lip service to both the original film and to Shirley Jackson and some dialogue choices, but
sure.
but beyond that, I get what you're saying. But this is
who cares? Right. No, I'm with you. I mean, it really ultimately doesn't matter.
This is your wheelhouse. But I mean, Jason, you still haven't seen Penny Dreadful yet, right?
I have not seen Penny Dreadful, and I need
So,
to.
and that is also something that you would enjoy.
Yes.
Yeah. These are kind of
No.
like they're kind of like remixes, but they're like really beautifully done remixes with some really fascinating riffs on things and like using the original concepts to explore things that weren't explored in the originals, both with Penny Dreadful and with The Haunting of Hill House, and they're definitely worth watching.
I'm totally interested. Absolutely interested.
Also, both great Halloween time viewing.
Yes.
That's a wonderful idea. My only endorsement this week. I spent all day today reading a novel, actually, The Woman in Cabin 10. But that's really good. But it's not my endorsement because it's not really for this crowd. But something we were talking about earlier in Halloween 6 tipped me off. You should check out the digital short The Mirror. This is an Andy Samberg. Oh yeah, it was hey, how about a movie that's entirely jump scares? Andy Samberg and Ellen Page made a movie for SNL. It's 3 minutes long and it's called The Mirror. And it is basically just a series of mirror gags. You know how in a horror movie, the girl's brushing her teeth and she's got the mirror of the medicine cabinet open and she closes it and there's always somebody behind her. This is like it's a 3 minute long gag that just keeps doing mirror gags. It is very funny, and it was called The Mirror, and you can find it on YouTube. I also would love, if you come to the Facebook page, I would love to hear people's recommendations for what our next retrospective is going to be, because as you know, the rest of October is scheduled out. We're going to do Halloween, and then we're going to do the War of the Worlds, and then we got to figure out what's next. And we always have ideas, and the new ideas keep coming. Julia had a big idea that she wanted to do, and now I'm trying to remember what it was. It just occurred to me today that from 1969 to 1971, there were 3 different terrible movies called Dracula versus Frankenstein. I think that would be a kind of a fun
I
thing.
want to do like a second retrospective about demon kids and like do the bad seed and
like
the good son and
right, the good son and the bad seed. Absolutely. Well, I mean, think about this. Jesus Franco and Paul Naschy both did Dracula versus Frankenstein movies in 1969. That sounds like a crazy thing to try to watch back to back and keep straight in our heads.
If we're gonna do that, we have to do the like no more Dracula movies until we've done the Bela Lugosi Dracula movie. I'm putting my foot down.
It's really strange that we haven't done that.
I'm drawing my line in the sand here at the Universal Monsters Night. Like we've done upteenth versions of Dracula, except the one that everybody likes.
It's so funny to imagine. We'll do El Santo y el Tesoro de Dracula. This bizarre guy, like with just some random Mexican dude playing Dracula, and we still haven't done Bela Lugosi. I know.
You want to do an interesting retrospective? We could do the Bela Lugosi Dracula and the Spanish
one that was filmed at the same time, right?
Yeah. Or I will curate a fucking Bela Lugosi vampire movie retrospective that will be awesome if you let me.
Yes,
you know it would
be allowed.
This is a wonderful idea.
Did I shift from where we haven't done that? I don't. In my mind, we've done this.
But no, never. But you have had this conversation at least 5 times in the past 4 years. I'm just gonna, as a fan of the show, I'm going to point out that you guys.
I agree, and
that Drew has.
Sam,
Drew, you just need to take over, dude.
For shifting me into this timeline where we've never done.
I would be so happy to talk about the Todd Browning Dracula. It would make me so happy.
I'm totally down with it. I do want to hear from our listeners. What do they want next? Do you want to go back and do
that? I don't. How? Just
okay.
Put that on after. Come on, that's it.
All right. Okay.
Down after War of the Worlds. That's it.
Can we get back and do so? I am totally excited about doing Bela Lugosi completely, no doubt about it. Down with that idea. I do want to do the Girl Gang Dracula movie from the 50s that we missed during our 50s stuff. I want to swoop in and pick that one up, just because I feel like we did ourselves a disservice missing that one. Yes, but I promise you, I will watch some good quality stuff. I promise you, because I realize that I keep steering you away from good stuff towards weird, schlocky, strange things.
I like weird, schlocky, strange things too, but it's Bela fucking Lugosi.
Yeah,
I'm with you. Okay, yes, sure.
Jason,
that sounds good.
You
Let's
and I
do that.
worked on the Kid Monsters version of that as a game. No, after War of the Worlds, absolutely, that's it.
Yeah, okay,
Dracula.
I'm down with that.
Put it in the books.
Bela Lugosi.
Send
It
out
is.
the invites. Come on.
Yeah, okay, all right.
Yes.
First, folks, we're going to do Bela Lugosi. Well, so tell me, guys, we'll follow up afterwards. I'm curious. Do you want to just do a bunch of Bela Lugosi vampire stuff, or do you want to do classic? Well, I'm down with that. Drew, you can curate it. It's fine. Okay.
Fuck yeah.
So, yeah. All right.
Happy birthday, Drew.
Yes. Welcome back.
The man's gone
okay.
for a month. He comes back, swoops in like a Lugosi vampire, and takes over. Amazing.
Although you have to admit that my weird idea of grungy 1969 Paul Naschy versus Jesus Franco, that also
I will
is
make
an idea.
you a trade. I like Paul Naschy. I will do those movies if you will let me do Bella.
Yeah, hell yeah. Okay, so that's it for this week, though. By gum, we really discussed a lot in this episode about Halloween 6. If you liked this, hey man, we got one more week. We're going to do Halloween. So this has been really interesting. We've done 4, 5, and 6, which are the most continuity bound episodes. We're about to do Halloween. If you've liked what you've heard, come to the Facebook page, talk to us about it, leave reviews at iTunes, tell your friends. We want more and more of you to keep coming to the Facebook page and engaging with us. We really do try to weigh in over there, and we have a really great time. Thanks, guys, for being on. I really appreciate it, and I will talk to you next weekend. Bye.
Night.
I love you, Stan.
Good night, y'all. It's good to be back.
Awesome.
Welcome
Yeah.
back.
Thank you.